Sports Chat with Nat.
And gentlemen, this is Sports Chat with Nat. I'm Natalie W. Baker. If you haven't already, I need you to subscribe. Hit that subscribe button on YouTube. And on Facebook, just hit the button and say follow. I have the chairman. Listen, Mr. Mike Morris is here with us today. Yay! And we're going to talk with him about the 68th PIT. Mr. Morris, welcome to Sports Chat with Nat. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it very much.
It's my pleasure. Now, listen, as I've already said, this is the 68th. This lovely book, The Portsmouth Invitational Tournament, where dreams come true. Listen, if you don't have a copy, you need to get a copy. I'm going to let Mr. Morris tell you about the book. Mr. Morris, tell the people about this book that I cannot seem to put down.
Well, there's a lot in there. Just so happens, obviously the last 2 years we didn't have the tournament because of COVID. So during that time, we approached an author, a local author here in the Portsmouth area, and said, we've always wanted to write down our history, and we've never done it. And so she interviewed people from as far back as she could go in our 68 years. A lot of the folks she talked to are in their 90s, and to try to get these oral histories of what transpired in this tournament in the last 68 years. And so she did a great job of going and took a photographer with her to get some photos of these folks and really document the history of what we've done for 68 years. And so we're really appreciative of that because, as I say, we didn't have anything written down. And so it's great now to have, at least at some point in time, what our history has been so that we can appreciate it and share it with others.
As I told you right at the beginning, before I turned the camera on, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be honest. I've been in Portsmouth all my life, Mr. Morris. And as a student of sports, loving sports, I heard of the PIT all the time, and I heard of the National Guard Armory. But I never in a million years would have put together that the PIT actually started in the National Guard Armory on Elm Avenue. Yeah,
it's fascinating because in the early 50s, that was the National Guard. Today, it's a recreation center for the city and has been for the last 30 to 40 years.
Yes.
But in the early 1950s, it was the National Guard Armory, and the local adult basketball recreation league played their games there. And so at the end of the season in 1953, a few of the players on those teams went to the city and said, hey, why don't we do invite whoever you want, come on over, let's play for the championship of the free world right here in the Armory in downtown Portsmouth. And that's how it started, is you go get your team, I'm going to get my team. It ended up being 8 teams. They went out there in 1953 and they played till they got a winner. And so that's really our beginning. It just out of nowhere just created this kind of a postseason adult recreation league type thing. And then the next thing you know, a couple of teams went and got some ringers to play on their team. So the first ringer was this guy that few people know about. His name's Lefty Drizel. And he was a player at Duke at the time. And so in 1953 and 1954, he was from Norfolk. And so his Norfolk boys said, come on, man, we're going to go over here in this tournament and play. You need to come back from Duke and play with us. And from there on, every year, teams started going and trying to get college players to come play on their team in this tournament. And so that's really how it started. And it's kind of fascinating that it had a pretty humble beginning, but it grew quickly, and college players started coming from everywhere because these teams were going and recruiting them to come play on their teams.
As a lover of sports, when I began to work for the city of Portsmouth, they asked for volunteers for the PIT. I still was not fully engulfed in what the PIT actually was. All I knew it was basketball, 3 or 4 days of basketball. And so when I got there and I saw all of the NBA legends, and one year I was the den mom or whatever, getting the players on the bus. And as I read the book and I see the different committees to how, the housing and lodging and food and everything, and to go from the $200 budget to the budget you have now, my mind is blown. So now, do you still use the same setup as far as the different committees to delegate the responsibilities of bringing the tournament together?
Yes, we do. So the committees have changed a little over time because there's been differences and things added and things that are no longer needed. But it's very similar to the way it was. It started the way I described it. Then in the mid 1970s, the city actually, it was still a city-run event, but the city said, you know what, this has kind of gotten out of hand. We got teams now that are paying for players to come to travel, and some can afford it, some can't. This is kind of getting unfair. So let's create what they call an executive committee of guys who played in it and were on the local teams to organize it and actually invite 64 college seniors. And so that started happening in the mid 70s. And it's in that same format today where we select 64 college players, all seniors that have used up their eligibility. And we come and put them on 8 teams, and they play then here in front of all the NBA scouts. Because what had happened in the early 70s was Marty Blake, who was the director of scouting for the NBA, showed up. And then Bob Ferry from the Washington Bullets, well, they're Baltimore Bullets at that time, but the Baltimore Bullets showed up. And then a couple of years later, other teams started hearing about it. And all of a sudden, all the NBA general managers, Red Auerbach, and all these famous people from the NBA are sitting in this little high school gym that holds 1,500 people watching this tournament. And so from then to now, we've used that same format, and the NBA teams, now all 30 NBA teams are here. All 30 of them have at least 8 of their own scouts here. We'll have 200 European and international scouts. It's just the epicenter for basketball now for 4 days. So the center of the basketball world is in Portsmouth, Virginia for 4 days. And so it's really kind of fascinating. But I do want to really talk about, because you mentioned it, the volunteers who put this together, all these committees. So as you mentioned, we have a hospitality committee that does nothing but bake cakes and prepare food to serve to the sponsors and the volunteers and serve to the NBA representatives. We have a housing committee that takes care of making sure the players have a place. They're taken care of in the hotel. They're fed. They're transported from the airport to the gym, or to the airport to the hotel, and hotel to the gym. And so there's a player selection committee. There's just a ton of, there's close to 200 volunteers involved in this thing. So everybody in this is a volunteer. Not a single one of us are paid. And so it's just a community effort, and that's what makes it special. That's why the NBA people love it so much when they get here, is it's got that Southern hometown feel that they love. And so it's really special in a lot of ways. It's special about the basketball, but it's special about the people and the experience too. Once upon a time, the players used to stay in volunteers' houses. And so back in the 60s and 70s and early 80s, good story. John Stockton stayed at our current vice chairman, Scott Taylor's house. And so his dad was involved, and Scott was a young boy, and he remembers John Stockton sleeping in his house. And when he came to play in the PIT in 1984. So, at one time, all the players stayed in houses. Today, we're all at the Renaissance Hotel. As you mentioned, we've got a much better budget now. And so we take care of the players. We put them up in a nice hotel. We feed them. And so, but it's still the same concept. It's just, it's gone to a new level.
When I was a participant as a volunteer, you were housing at the Holiday Inn. And the Renaissance came the very next year or the year after. And I noticed how large the booths were, and everything was so large. And so I just was my heart was warm that we actually had to build something in the city that could accommodate the size of the people that were coming, bringing in the revenue. Speaking of the revenue and the volunteers, I've noticed that the thousands of dollars of scholarships given out, you mentioned the hotels and the NBA, the budget now, I know we said we started at 200. Can you give us a ballpark figure of how it has actually grown over the 68 years?
Oh yeah, our budget right now is around $220,000 to pay for everything that goes on. Okay. And so we've been very fortunate. We have a great partnership with the NBA and the NBA teams. We have local sponsors. We have ticket sales. And so we've been really, really fortunate. It's worked out just fantastic. It allowed us to upgrade, where we house the players. It's allowed us to do some nicer things that, quite frankly, these players are now used to. I mean, you go to college today and play college basketball, it's a different world than back when I played 40 years ago. So, the things that they have are available to them. And so we've got to keep up with that. Otherwise, we lose credibility. So we want to keep up with that. We want to make sure we're up to pace with what the players and what the NBA folks are used to.
Now, that being said, I did notice one thing, the Harry Hook Hillman Award. So do you still do that award?
Absolutely. And so let me tell the story of that, because it's an interesting story. This award was created by Bobby Crimmins, who was the coach at Georgia Tech for a long time, and then also coached at the College of Charleston. But anyway, when he was a young man in high school, he was a troubled youth in Brooklyn. And so he got sent to Frederick Military Academy in Portsmouth, Virginia, to straighten him out. And so when he got there, he met a man named Hook Hillman, who worked at the YMCA and who really helped him with basketball, but also helped him with life. And so Bobby came back in the late 70s and said, you know what, I want to do tribute to this guy because he meant so much to me, and he's a local Portsmouth resident. And so he endowed an annual award that we give in Hook Hillman's name to a local coach or local person involved in youth sports. And so we do that every year. We've done it every year since Bobby created that award in the 70s. And we make it part of our celebrity luncheon. We have a luncheon the Friday of the tournament and have a guest speaker from the NBA. And we'll have about 400 people there. And we give away that award. And that's where we give our 7 local scholarships also.
Well, I got a little teary-eyed when I was reading the book and I saw the picture of one of your award winners, Henry Bonnie Stevenson. He was a member of the church. And, it reminded me, and I wrote this down when I was reading the book, that it was initiated by Bobby, as you said, in 1978, the year that I graduated from IC Norcom. But it reminded me of something, of how important my mama's favorite phrase was, be careful how you entertain a stranger, for it may be an angel. And, Hook was an angel to Bobby when he was homesick. He said he was homesick. He was, already being at Frederick Military Academy. As you said, his life had been challenged. So, you never know who you're going to meet and how that's going to change your life and how that encounter is going to change other people's lives. And for me to read that book and to see Bonnie's picture there, I mean, of all the recipients, it could have been anybody's picture. It really could have, but there was a reason. And I know all things happen for a distinct reason, but to see Bonnie's picture, knowing his association with IC Norcom, and a lot of my subscribers for my channel are also personal friends of Bonnie. So it made me even more excited. I could barely sleep last night. So excited about being able to talk to you about the award, about the book, about the National Guard Armory, and about how the whole time, and we talk about a lot of things all the time, but sports is such a unifier of people. And I know I said it with Mike on the other interview, and I say it on every interview because it's a reality. It is really a reality. And little old Portsmouth, as tough as it can be, with the struggles that it has, it still remains one of the hidden gems as far as a gem in the sports world. It's a gem.
Well, I'm going to add on to that because I knew Barney really well myself for 20 plus years because I worked in the Parks and Recreation Department in Portsmouth. I was Parks and Recreation Director, and Barney ran the Churchlin Basketball League for, oh man, decades. And just the impact he had on young people, the kind of guy he was. He was on the PIT committee as well. He would go sell ads. He would help us out in a variety of different ways, and just a really good guy. And so I'm glad you mentioned him because I have fond memories of Barney also.
Yeah, and it's like I said, all things just kind of line up. And I was looking at the article that I found, and it was speaking of another hometown young man that's actually going to be playing the center from Providence, Nate Watson. He's going to be playing in the tournament. And so was there any other players that you might want to mention that kind of stuck out for you that were, playing, that have committed to play?
Sure. Yeah. Nate's a great one. Obviously, he went to IC Norcom, so we're glad to have him back in town. I will mention for him, he just lost his grandfather, and so he actually came back over the weekend. So we wish the best to he and his family. But he said, I'm still going to play. I'm going to play for my grandfather. And so that's a special thing. But yeah, we've got a great lineup of players because we haven't played the tournament for 2 years. We've really had great interest from the college players and the college coaches to get players in because they've noticed in the last 2 years that just not having it, that many players lost out on the opportunity. And so it's kind of like that, absence make the hearts grow fonder thing. It wasn't there, and they're going, wow, we didn't realize how much we needed that. And so it's really been interesting this year. We've had a lot of interest. We've got some great players. We've got, you just name it. We've got a good one is Garrison Brooks, who played at Carolina for 4 years, and he went to Mississippi State this year. So we're looking forward to having him. Keve Aluma from Virginia Tech had a great run in the ACC tournament, won the ACC tournament. Everybody saw Arkansas make a run in the tournament. So we've got their best player, who was a third-team All-American, J.D. Note. So we've really got a great field this year. We're really excited to tip things off tonight and just let them go at it. Malin Parker, who was, I should mention him, he was our former chairman. This is actually my first PIT as chairman. Malin Parker was the chairman for 27 years. He passed away in 2020, right after we canceled the tournament. And so he always said this is more than a basketball tournament. And it's really about the other things we just talked about, the Hook Hillman, the Barry Steve, the Barney Stevens, and the variety of different, people that make this special, and then the scholarships. And then we give contributions to local nonprofit organizations also. So we'll end up giving away about $45,000 to scholarships and local nonprofits out of the proceeds of the tournament. And so he always said this is more, he loved basketball, but he said it's more than basketball.
But there's just so much, we could talk for hours. We really, really could, because everything in this book, from the graduation from the change in venue, from the National Guard Army to Woodrow Wilson, to all the way up to now Churchlin High School. Do you foresee it being anywhere else other than Churchlin High School, or is that the limit?
Well, you never know. As I said earlier, we're trying to keep pace with these college players and their, what they are used to, what the NBA is used to. Churchlin, in 1993, Churchlin High School was built, and that gym was built for the PIT. It holds 4,200 people, which is huge for a high school gym. And so it was built for it. So at that time, it was state of the art, but that was 30 years ago. And so, at some point, we've got to look and go, okay, this is now 30 years old. People are used to, newer or higher level things. Do we need to do something different? So we're always looking to try to improve it the best we can. So we'll see what happens here. We'll see what develops here in Portsmouth. See if there's something new come along here that maybe we could fit into. So there's plans to build a casino here in Portsmouth. So you never know, there may be an exhibition wing in there that perhaps we can get a gym in it. So we'll see what happens.
With it being, would you ever consider using Old Dominion University as a place to play the tournament? Although it's a Portsmouth invitation, would you consider using Old Dominion, as you said, with the growth?
Yeah, and that's something we'll have to look at. And so, yeah, we haven't ruled anything in or out. I mean, clearly it's a Portsmouth event, so we'd love to keep it in Portsmouth. And but at the same time, we understand, this is, I've already said, that times are changing, and so sometimes you got to change with those times. And so we'll see what happens.
Tell the people who the speaker is for the luncheon this year.
Sure. Yeah, it's Daniel Gibson. Daniel Gibson played at Texas, and then he went on and played for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Played with LeBron when they made their championship run. They went to the finals in 2007, and so he was part of that team. And so he played in the NBA for quite a few years, and so he's going to come and just talk to us, talk to players, and it should be a good time.
And Copeland, what's his first name? Copeland won the award this year. The Hook
Carlton
Hillman
Copeland, yes. Yeah. We're actually going to give 2 Hook Hillman awards this year because we had selected the winner in 2020, but then we had to cancel the tournament. So Carlton Copeland is going to win it for 2020. And then we have another winner for 2022, which I can't say yet because nobody knows who that is.
That's fine. Okay. So now, is that a private luncheon, or are tickets available for that luncheon?
Yeah, it's open to the public. Tickets are available. You can go to the Portsmouth Invitational website, and there's information there on how to get tickets to games or tickets to the luncheon.
Now, Mike mentioned before, are you live streaming any of the games, or how is that set up, or do you just have to be there to be a part of it?
No, we actually we went out searching for a live stream company. We found one. They actually do a lot of college teams now. They do University of Kentucky and UNLV and several. And so we've arranged with them to come. They're going to live stream, and then so they have just like tickets at the door. They'll do $12 for a session, which is 2 games, or you could do $40 for the whole tournament and watch all the games.
Okay. Wonderful. So, Mr. Mike, what I always do on my interviews is offer the guests an opportunity to say whatever is on your heart to say to the world, and your time is now.
Well, I guess I'll just say that I've been involved with the Portsmouth Invitational Tournament for 26 years. I love it. All us who are involved in it love it. We put our heart and soul into it. We're all volunteers. We do it because we love it. And so that's what makes it special. And then you look back at some of the history of the players who played in it, and the people we've gotten to know, from the Rick Barry, who played in 61, to Dave Cowens, who played in the early 70s, to John Lucas, who was the first pick in the NBA draft in the late 70s and played in the tournament, and Dennis Rodman and Scottie Pippen, who got discovered here. No one knew about them. And John Stockton, who no one knew much about, from Gonzaga, because no one heard of Gonzaga in '84 like they have today.
Yeah.
So just all these listed names. I mean, one time when they did the 50 greatest players in NBA history, 5 of those 50 had played in our tournament. And so you go, wow, you don't realize it when you're going through it, but then when you look back, you go, wow. I mean, how special is that? So we're just really proud of, our history. We're proud of what we're able to do every year, but most of all, we just love it. And we're basketball people, but we're also community people. And we just.
What is this? Jana King, Mike Duman Otto, Norfolk Sports Club, Portsmouth Partnership, Portsmouth Sports Club, Sales Systems Limited. I'm missing somebody. I'm missing one.
Yeah. Portsmouth Sports Club, Norfolk Sports Club, Portsmouth Partnership. Those are all local organizations or businesses who all sponsor. They're what we call team sponsors. So they sponsor the teams. So they get to have their name on the jersey. And so
and
they
Roger
love
Browns.
it.
And Roger Browns.
Roger Brown.
Roger Browns. That's it.
Yep.
So that's, I mean, it's just such a beautiful thing. And I just wanted to make sure I got those names out because those are important. The sponsors are very important. So we don't want to shortchange them any at all because it's such a important event for the entire city, for the whole Hampton Roads area. Oh, I just wish I could be there with you. My heart is there. My mind is there. My body is here, but I am there with you. So ladies and gentlemen, we want you to get your tickets. We want you to go to the website, and the website is Portsmouth Invitational Tournament. Is it PIT.org?
PortsmouthInvitational.com.
PortsmouthInvitational.com. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, this is Sports Chat with Nat. We have Mike Morris. We've been talking about the PIT, the Portsmouth Invitational Tournament, one of only two, ladies and gentlemen, you heard me, two pre-draft NBA camps in the country. Ladies and gentlemen, this is no small feat. Not for Sports Chat with Nat, not for Mr. Morris, not for Hampton Roads, and not for the sports world, the basketball world. We thank you, Mr. Morris, for joining us on Sports Chat with Nat. Ladies and gentlemen, go buy your tickets. As he said, we're live. You can live stream the games if you don't want to go. You can buy your tickets at the Churchlin High School gym on Cedar Lane. Am I right?
You got it.
Still on Cedar Lane.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Sports Chat with Nat, with Mike Morris. We appreciate you. We thank you so much for watching. And you have a great day and see you at the game. Bye now.